Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Melanin Initiative. In healthcare, there is often too much information and not enough time. Here at the Melanin Initiative, we avoid TMI by breaking things down into language that you can understand. We create a safe space for you to ask your questions and for us to share our nursing's perspective without taking too much of your time. Today, we are joined by, before I introduce our guests, I have my co host here with me, Kimberly and Alicia. And we are joined by Demetrius.
And he's the guest of our series, Becoming Doctor of Nursing Practice. We caught up with him in season 2 just to find out about his journey. He told us about how he became a nurse. You'll have to go back and watch that episode. We'll put the link in the description box. Then he came back to catch us up on what it means to become a Doctor of Nursing Practice student. So what he's agreed to is to come back every semester and just catch us up along his journey so that we can learn. Because one thing we know is that amongst the public and even our colleagues is there's a huge knowledge gap when it comes to understanding why the DNP exists and how it can benefit both our colleagues as well as the public. And so one thing we nurses excel at is explaining things.
Yeah.
And so what a better way to share someone's journey while they're going through it and just answer a lot of questions that way. So we're super excited that he agreed to be the star of this series, and he's back for episode 3. We're going to catch up with him and see how his spring semester went.
Also, if you're new here, once again, welcome. I'm Geraldine, as I mentioned before, and we are a health literacy podcast. Just a little rundown about what we do. We're a health literacy podcast offering our nursing perspective. When we say health literacy, we are talking about the ability to obtain information and to use that information to manage your health and advocate for others. By watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast app, we hope you feel empowered to ask your questions, educated on how to manage your health, and confident to navigate this sometimes crazy healthcare system. If you haven't already, please subscribe so you can be notified when we release new episodes. Thumbs up the video and leave a comment or two, as this helps us help you. It also shows YouTube this content is valuable, and it helps to make sure that YouTube is actually getting our content out to those who need to hear it. As a reminder, this show is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed here are our opinions alone, and they are not a representation of any of our affiliations. If you're experiencing a medical emergency, you should seek medical attention and medical guidance from your healthcare provider. If you're having a physical emergency, please call 911. And if you're having a mental health emergency, please call 988. So let's get started.
Well, Demetrius, welcome back to the Melanin Initiative. How are you?
Hey, I am okay. Thank you for having me. Thank you for doing this series so I can share my story, because I know my story is going to resonate with so many people out there who are considering going back to get that DNP degree.
And this is me.
Right. I love it.
Maybe.
Right. And this is special for us, right? Because we're in season 3.
Yes.
But it's like one of the first times all of us have been together to interview a guest. And so I introduce you to Alicia and Geraldine, who are not sitting there loving their absence. They're actually here.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, we are here. So yeah, they're really excited. They had a million questions for me before we started filming. So hopefully they're not shy and they bring them up during our conversation today.
Listen, ask away. You know, the purpose of this, as my understanding, once again, is to inspire and empower. And I know you've got to see my last episode, but for the audience, if you have not seen my episode, please go visit my last episode. While you're there, hit that like button, that thumbs up button, and share it. Right. But for me, it's to provide that candid insight into what it's like to be a DNP student. So I don't hold back. I'm very forward as I can be while I'm still in the program.
If you could just give us just a short little elevator pitch of kind of who you are, your background, how you came to where you are right now.
Yeah, so my name is Demetrius. I'm a registered nurse by trade, as well as a licensed nursing home administrator. For the last few years, I've worked as a healthcare consultant helping healthcare organizations across the U.S. Originally from Detroit, Michigan, currently reside in the beautiful state of Hawaii, Honolulu to be exact. And I'm excited to be here to once again share this story, because if you would have asked me a few years ago if I would be a DNP student, I would have said, no, there's no purpose, there's no reason. And in fact, as I often say, if you would have asked me many years ago, I would never even have thought I would have been a registered nurse. So, light years from where I was when I graduated high school to where I am now. And once again, I'm just here to share this story, excited to share this story with you.
Thank you so much. And it wouldn't be right without saying, what up, though?
Hey, listen, I forgot to wear the buffs.
Shout out to
Next episode, I will have the buffs.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Detroit, my goddaughter,
Yes.
and my extended family there. So, yeah, let's see how you've been since we saw you the last time. So this semester was your spring? Was it like a spring semester?
Yeah, so the way that my program is set up, they do classes every 8 weeks. And so I am in probably my most challenging class so far. And it's not challenging because the work is challenging. It is a research class. And that means research. And for me, if I wanted to do research, I would have got a PhD. I do understand that there's this one class that we have to do this extensive research, and I'm doing it. But this has been the most challenging class for me because it is very much research based. So once again, when you ask what semester I'm in, we don't really do semesters. It's more like you're doing courses, right? We had a total of 11 courses. There are 8 weeks apiece.
And you just had that one research course?
Yeah, I mean, everything has something, a component of research into it. Maybe this is something where I'm in my head because it's literally labeled research in the title.
That could be it.
It is right. So we're analyzing articles, which I do every week for every other class. But the fact that this is called research, and it goes along with my chapter 2, my literature review. So in theory, it is truly research. We are reviewing, countless articles and analyzing them for to see if they align with my project goals and my project vision.
So I can imagine with 8-week courses, that's fast. So are they cramming, like a 16-week course into 8 weeks? And are you moving fast paced? Like, what is that like to have 8-week courses consistently back to back?
So the reason why I chose this program, and I don't know if I mentioned it on the last episode, is because we were in theory supposed to be able to get done in 21 months. They've since now put a 2-week break in between. So you have to have a break to decompress between each course. Now, to answer your question, for me, I don't know a difference. When I received my BSN degree, they were 8 weeks long courses. My MSN was 8 week long courses, and then it's DNP. So I don't really know a difference from, what other programs are like. For me, I'm used to writing one paper a week and having a discussion post and then have to respond to 2 of my peers. Now, what's nice is at the doctoral level, we're just doing a journal and there's no responding to peers, right? Because each student is at a different part in their doctoral journal or doctoral process. So I have a paper that's due generally between 1,500 words to 2,000 words. And depending on where I am, so this particular research class, this paper this week is, I think, 3,000 words. But what's nice is you're building your chapter 2, which is 3,000 words, right? You're doing this literature review. So with this particular class, it's not a true extra assignment. You're kind of just using what you've already done. You may have to make a few tweaks to meet the assignment, but you're really repurposing the same work you're already doing.
And do you have your working title?
Yes. Don't ask me that right now. It's somewhere. Right, because here's the deal. It's going to change. So I have a one that I believe is going to be the working title, but as you go through this, your purpose change, your PICO question changes 1,000 times. So, I think that while I do have a title, it's probably going to change near the end of the project.
And you're still doing falls.
Oh, listen. We talked about it last time. I did falls for a BSN project, MSN project, and it's going to be a falls for a DNP project. And here's why, right? We are all at risk for falling. I don't care at what age. You come out the womb at risk for falling. And as you get ready to transition this earth, you're still going to be at risk for falling. So in the senior population, when they fall, it often leads to their demise, right? They fall, they get immobility, puts them at risk for pneumonia, respiratory deconditioning, and then it's just kind of downhill from there. So if I can curve and improve the life of one senior, then I've done my job.
And after doing it for 3 degrees, it sounds like you're not tired of it. And so we appreciate that. So we know we have a lot of young students, prospective students watching this. And so you mentioned the word literature review. They might not be familiar with that. So I just want to take a little bit of time to explain kind of like what that is and why it's important and why it won't be the last time you ever do it.
Most important.
Yeah, so for me, the literature review, and I guess for every person who's done it, because I've done a literature review at the master's level as well. So you're 100% correct at that. You're really reviewing evidence-based articles that are published in journals, and you're looking at them for, how do they say it? Reliability and validity. And there's a lot of technical terms, but I'll break it down. You're looking at them to make sure it makes sense and that they did everything appropriately. So you're going to look at their sample size, the amount of people that they did this on. If they're saying that they think this is an effective project, but they only did it on one person, is that truly an effective project, right? And that one person is their best friend. So you're looking at that to make sure that the article makes sense and that it's credible. It's published somewhere that's factual and reliable. It can't be published on Twitter. It just can't do that, right? It has to be published in a journal and should have been vetted and reviewed by industry experts in the field, such as other DNPs, PhDs, MSN, whoever is an industry expert in that area. So for my particular DNP project, I think I have reviewed close to 100 articles. And then out of that, you start to kind of weed them out based on, your different areas, right? If it's a quantitative study, a qualitative study, the sample size, right? You weed it down to make it fit what you're looking for. So out of that 100, I have a total of 28 articles that's going to be a part of my literature review.
Very good. Yeah. So maybe that first time you put a search term, you might get, depending on the topic,
you
might get 10,000 hits.
Right.
Yes.
You cannot review 10,000, right? But that also shows you that your question needs to be more refined.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then you might get 100. Great, right? Again, you're probably not going to be reading 100 articles. So there's probably some more refinement. And maybe all those articles don't meet your criteria. Maybe you're looking at falls in the long-term care population. So maybe 65 and older. So then all those peds research topics are not going to be included in your 100. So right there, you might get down to 55. So that's certainly reasonable. You would be expected to review those numbers, but you also might find that, again, some more of those articles don't meet your criteria. Maybe it's a time frame, a number, whatever your list of criteria are for what you want to be included in your review, which is a list of resources that you're going to be referencing throughout your paper.
Yeah. You're definitely right in that. And, it's nice because as you're building this paper, you're gathering all these sources, right? And you're putting them there. And like you said, you can use those sources throughout your paper, through your chapter 1, 2, obviously your literature review, 3, 4, and 5.
And because you've taken the time to do this, you're now an expert in the available evidence, right? So even though it might not be in your paper, you've spent months, sometimes years, reviewing the literature. So you know the trends, you know the patterns, you know who's working on what, the barriers, where the gaps are, what future research is still needed. So you're becoming an expert every time you read another article.
So true. Definitely true.
So how far into your program are you? I know you have like every 8, it's 8 weeks.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny that you say that. And the reason that I say that is funny that you say that because I am a very much data-driven person. I function on data. I thrive on data. So when it comes to knowing exactly where I am in my program, as I mentioned, there's a total of 11 courses. I am in course 4, which is roughly about 36.36% done. What I have, and I was just referencing to, is I have a little spreadsheet that counts down the courses, the days, the percentage. I keep track of the teachers and how they grade. So at any given time, if you say I'm in this class, I can tell you exactly how many PowerPoints, how many papers, and what the teacher's going to look for. I keep that because here's the deal. A lot of times you're going to see these instructors again. I see some of the same instructors that I had in my master's program. So I get to go back and reference, okay, this instructor doesn't like the word in conclusion. Whereas I have some instructors, you have some instructors who want you to use in conclusion. So I can avoid missing those points up front because I remember how you operated from my previous course. So I keep all of that in an Excel file.
Have you had any time to participate in extracurricular activities?
You know, that's always a challenge. I think as a DNP student, and once you figure out the flow, you can when to do a little more, do a little bit more, and do a little bit less. So for me, I can write a paper very quickly, and I have a little bit more time when I'm writing a paper. But when it comes to a PowerPoint, that takes me all week to do a PowerPoint, and that's when I generally can't do extracurricular activities because of that PowerPoint. But I think once you figure out your flow and your structure, um, you'll be able to determine, when you have free time and not have free time.
Okay, but what about you? Have you had a chance to do anything?
Yeah. So
He's
I
also
was
he's an instructor too, so it's hard for him to get out of that. And he's a dad, right? So he's always in this role of explaining and removing himself from. This is your journey.
yes. So you're right. So yes, I have had time to do some extracurriculars and have fun and do all that. And I do that. Here's the explaining part, right? Because I prioritize it. And because you have people who are going to go back and get a master's, bachelor's, or DNP. So what I usually do the first week is I try to knock out all the journals. I type them up, have them ready. And then once I get that done in the first 2 weeks, now as we're progressing through the 8-week course, we get to week 3. I just have a paper to focus on. And that gives me a lot of free time to spend that time with my daughter, spend that time with my wife, because those are relationships that are going to continue on past school. So you got to continue to nurture them. You can't let them fall by the wayside, right? Because they're going to be there after school as they were before school. So that strategy allows me to spend that time with them.
It's a brilliant strategy. I wish I had adopted it. But one thing I did do pretty consistently was always take off that first week. And just try to get just try to do as much as you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And so we know that you have your show, you have your podcast. Those are your extracurriculars. We know you're heavily involved with DNPs of Color. So those are your extracurriculars, and we want to hear about it.
Yes. So when you say heavily involved with DNPs of Color, yes, I am aligned strategically with DNPs of Color. I believe in everything that they're doing. And for me, it allows me an outlet to be creative and be with like-minded people and actually connect with people who have done it, right? When I'm feeling down, I look at DNPs of Color and say, wow, all of these people ahead of me have already completed this doctoral degree. So I have, I'm all heavily involved in that. I have that podcast that I host, Sound Leadership with DJ. I also host Common Ground with SMK Medical. Both are podcasts that I host, and it's something that I enjoy doing, and it's, to me, a creative outlet, right? Because I get to interview people. I get to sit on the opposite side and interview people. So, for me, I enjoy those things. But back to the question, right? Is while they are extracurricular, I have to prioritize when I can spend that time there. So I think that's something that I'm always trying to do is learning how to balance. You usually hear work-life balance. Well, this is school, work, and life balance, right? Trying to figure out how to make it all work in an effortless way.
Shout out to founder, president, and CEO, Dr. Danielle McCamey of DNPs of Color. And
yes. She is amazing. And for somebody to have that visionary mindset to create a platform that connects thousands of people across the U.S., that is amazing. And I am, once again, in awe just to be in the room with like-minded people who are really trying to push the needle forward. As I said it earlier, and I said it on a previous podcast, and I'll echo it again to anybody who will hear it. I graduated with a 1 GPA. I'm not supposed to be here on this platform talking to you about this DNP program, but I did not let that hold me back. So how I use it as motivation is, they told me I couldn't, so I'm gonna show them that I can.
That's a story of triumph right there.
Right.
Yeah, big fans of Dr. McCamey over here. I wrote a whole article on how much I'm fangirling over her on the Mahogany Dermatology blog. I'll put the link for that in the description box. And I think it's great that you share with students that there's outside time, because that's something people worry about, especially when you're talking about going to doctoral level. You've already invested so much of your time and your life and your social life into school. So to hear that there is even just a little bit of time to do some other things, that could be enough to say, okay, you know what, let me do this last one.
You have to, I don't care if it's not even at the doctoral level, it's back to just becoming an LPN or an RN. You have to make time for your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a clean, clear mental health, you're never going to make it. So whatever your creative outlet is, you have to figure out how to fit that in there. You may not be able to do it at the length that you've done it in the past, but if you loved, I was a concert person. We don't have concerts here in Hawaii, but back in Detroit, I would be at every concert, right? Because I can make 3 hours time to go to a concert for what I love. And then it rejuvenated me until the next concert came in. I had that energy. I was doing something. I wasn't just buried in the book. So for anybody thinking about going back to get a DNP, a MSN, BSN, ASN, LPN, know that the journey will be challenging. It will be hard and take a lot of dedication. But it's never to a point where you can't step out and go get some ice cream.
Yeah.
Step out and go to your favorite restaurant, right? You have to have that mental health, and that's going to give you that clarity to continue to excel forward.
I love that you said that, because I actually did my BSN was an accelerated nursing program, and it was the longest 12 months of my life. So nursing school, which is normally 2 years, was fit into 12 months. I don't know how I made it out, but I did. And I just remember back to that time, like sometimes I had to take a step back and like go to the, like I remember one day my family wanted to go to the beach, and I'm like, I can't, I have to study. And my brother's like, no, let's go to the beach. So I went to the beach, and it helped me de-stress. And then when I got back home, I was able to jump back into studying, or I would like every now and then these things will come up. And if I can, I would take a little bit of a break from studying, because it was a lot. It was very, very intensive program. So I think it's very, very important to take that time to do, just even if it's for an hour, just to do something else other than study or focus on school.
And I teach ABSN students here, and I'm always telling them, right? And I teach fundamentals, and they're just, they're just finding their way. They're so overwhelmed. But I always tell them, you have to, one, know how to study, but also when to step away from studying, right? Because there's a point, and we've all done it, right? We're just staring at this book. We're not getting it, but we're also not moving forward. We're not getting any new information. We're burnt out. We're just staring at this presentation, and it's not doing anything for us. So you have to be able to step away. So what I encourage the students here in Hawaii to do, I say, look, you got that beautiful beach across the street. Yeah. Take 5 seconds, go dip in the ocean and come back to it, right? Take 5 seconds to go out and do whatever it is that you love to do and come back. That's going to really open up and expand your mind. And also, while you're doing whatever it is that you love to do, you can be processing the information.
That's true.
Process it while you're doing it. So you're not really, away from it, but now you're really digesting and processing it versus just sitting there staring at a screen, highlighting.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So this last 8 weeks, what have been your greatest challenges and biggest lessons?
Yeah. So I think for me, this last 8 weeks, what I mentioned was a research course. And the biggest lesson for me is that I had to push myself. There's times I don't sugarcoat it. There's times I wanted to quit this course. When I got my first 2 grades back from this professor, and they were not the best grades that I wanted to see, and there was no explanation there, I think that annoys me the most, right? Because your teachers hold the most power. They can grade you, and it just is what it is. It's their perception. And so for me, I wanted to quit multiple times, but I had a caring wife, devoted daughter who was just like, no, daddy, you got to keep going. So my lesson is, for me, I got people depending on me. I got to keep moving it forward, no matter how hard it is. And then when I tapped into Danielle, I tapped into other people with PhDs and DNPs. Once again, they reminded me, as I've always said, they got through it. So while it's challenging now, 8 weeks later, 6 weeks later, it's done and it's over. So you just have to put your head down and continue to trailblaze forward.
Excellent. I'm here if you need anything, Demetrius. You didn't tap into me. Not for that. You've been definitely very helpful in other areas of my life. But yeah, if you need that motivation, you need some words of encouragement, you have my contact information.
But I see you ladies doing so many big things that I be like, hold on now. I see you over here running dermatology clinics and all that great stuff that you guys are doing. But once again, what I love about our group, and I go back to DNPs of color, and I go back to just us in this nursing field, we're so supportive of each other. And to any student who are thinking of going to get an ASN, BSN, LPN, MSN, know that people that look like you and maybe not look like you, they support you and they want to see you win. They want to see you succeed. I'm sure, just like myself, you guys get people that reach out and you offer those words of encouragement, and just having people who've been through it who can say, you know what, you're not alone, means the world. So thank you for that. That really does mean the world to me.
Yeah, and I love research. I love reading. I love writing. So if you ever need a second eyes or an editor, I love it.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Listen, I appreciate it, especially that editor part, because Lord knows it sounds good to you. Like you're writing it, right? It sounds great. But
Right.
I fall victim just like I'm sure a lot of other people. Sometimes I'm writing how I'm speaking, and that Detroit language sometimes speaks through. And I gotta remember, hold on, this is at the professor level, this is at the collegiate level. So let me remove that what up dough out of there and say,
So far in your journey, have you had any changes in your perspective about the DNP program or healthcare or being a doctorally prepared nurse?
you know, there's no secret that I'm not a fan of school, and it may be contrary to what people say. Right, I teach at 2 universities. There's no secret I'm not a fan of school. I think school it's an interesting thing. It's a must do. You have to get through it to sometime open the doors. But for me, as I advance through this and gain the additional knowledge from a doctoral standpoint, I am learning what it is to be a doctoral prepared nurse. It's kind of the same thing that I went through as an MSN. I was a BSN student. I said, why would I become an MSN? It's not a pay raise. It's not doing anything for me. But it wasn't until I started going through those courses, I started learning what it meant to be an MSN prepared nurse. As I'm going through the DNP courses, I'm learning what it means to really be a DNP prepared nurse. And I'm learning that through going through this literature review, being able to analyze this information and thinking about how I can apply it to everyday practice to improve the lives of others, right? We know it as nurses, but at each nursing level, whether you're 2 year, right, you're just doing it because people are telling you to do it, right? BSN, you're learning how to maybe synthesize 1 or 2 articles. MSc, you're at the university level, you're teaching that information. But that DNP, we're helping develop that information, partnering with other nurse scientists, such as the PhD prepared nurses, to really just drive clinical excellence.
I love watching your journey and hearing your language change, even from just the one season. Like, yeah, they're in there. A little bit of brainwashing, right?
Yes, that's what I'm drinking some Kool-Aid. That's what it is.
Mhm.
What's been the impact of graduate school on your relationships, or how has it influenced the relationships you've had this semester in any way?
So I don't know that there's been a true impact on relationships. Um, from a sense, I'm meeting a lot more DNP prepared nurses and PhD nurses. So I guess I'm collaborating a lot more with people who have done it already. And from a motivational standpoint, I guess with some of the relationships, people are saying, wow, you're doing it. I can do it. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, because they're like, you can do it. I can do it. I don't know how to take that sometimes when people say it, but you
Right.
know, it is inspiring people. And as you know, right, I'm a black male nurse. That percentage low, right? It's a very low percentage. But then you're talking about the DNP prepared nurse that's a black male nurse. It's even less than 1%, just like, as an African American female. So for me, I don't know. I don't know how to measure the impact of it that I'm having with relationships, but I can say I feel it. It is there. I'm meeting new people. I'm networking with new people, and I'm inspiring people who I didn't even know were watching.
You mentioned networking. Have you identified a mentor or are you in the process of like mentoring others?
So I'm always mentoring others. I think for me, from a mentor standpoint, I don't have someone that I say this is 100% my mentor, but I have people that I can call on to. And that's been my whole career. That's been my whole life. Um, I lean into people for what I need. So each person has something, right? You may not be a college graduate, but you can talk me through some politics of school, right? You may not be a college graduate, but you know this, or you may be a college graduate and you have this certain characteristics that I like, and I'm going to lean into you for. So, I have always been one that will network and collaborate with people who are helping me get to where I need to be. So I do believe in having a mentor or having a coach. In fact, as I mentioned, I mentor and coach others. For me, do I have one set one? No, but I do have many. As I said on this podcast, right, I reach out to Danielle, other DNP prepared nurses. Just a small plug, my brother Jeremy Blanks, who is graduating with his PhD this Tuesday, has been a great resource.
Hey,
Yes, my brother, two people from the same block,
Yes.
um, graduating this Tuesday with a PhD in criminal justice and counterterrorism.
Oh, my
So
mom
we've
is in
been
the comments. My mom is in the comments going crazy. That was her bachelor's degree, and I had to hear
yes.
about it my whole life.
So to have a physical brother doing it is amazing because he was a few classes ahead of me, and obviously it's something different, right? Criminal justice, but he's been a huge mentor. Even though I'm the older one, he's been a huge mentor for me to go to and say, hey, how are you doing this? What are you doing? How are you navigating through this? Because he's doing it. And like I said, he graduates this Tuesday with it. So proud of him.
We are too. That's what a great opportunity for your family.
Yes.
Will you be able to attend that?
So I'll be at a conference, but I'm going to step out the conference because here's the deal. I'm not, as I mentioned to him, while I love everybody at this conference, you are family and you will be here after this conference. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to support you because when it's my time to walk across that stage and give my dissertation, right, I need you there to support me as well because we did this as a family, two people from Detroit who has pushed the envelope and shown people that you can graduate from Detroit public schools and be whatever you want to be.
All right.
That's sweet. That's beautiful. I'm curious. You said in the first kind of 2 weeks of your each quarter, if you will, that you kind of knock out as much as you can. During those 2 weeks, how does your family kind of support you in that? Like, do they say, okay, for 2 weeks, we won't really have daddy at dinner time? Like, what does that look like?
I'm strategic in the way that I do things. And, I have a young child, which is really great. My daughter goes to sleep at 7:00. So that's really great. And then my wife, the one time I love it is my wife's in education. So she's grading papers right beside me as I'm doing this. So it kind of just works because, right, she has 100-some students that she's grading papers for. So it works. So I try to do it at the same time that my wife is working from home. So it's not like we're taking time apart from each other.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so it's a working relationship.
Yes.
I'd be
Very
curious
much.
how your wife describes this working time.
It's very much, but it took us a long time to get here, right? I remember going to LPN school. That is probably the most challenging that my relationship had to go through, right? Because we had always been around each other and she didn't understand to the point, right, that I need to kind of step away and do this. So as I've advanced my education, we've learned how to make it work for our relationship. But it will and it can put a strain on a relationship. But I believe all relationships can work through it. You guys have to have that goal of why you're doing this, right? Understanding that it's for the betterment of us. I became a nurse when I was 21, so long time ago, but it was for the betterment of us. So now she knows that I'm getting this doctoral degree once again. It's the betterment of us. I mean, we live in Hawaii, so look how our situation has changed once we have done what we needed to do to get to where we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, sometimes it is like you have to kind of go in your little closet, but when you find those gaps, and sometimes you'd be intentional about creating those moments in time so you can have that quality time, and so your loved one knows that they are just as important to you. And I'm talking to myself as the things you're pursuing.
I love it. And I think what you mentioned, right, going into a closet, I think for anybody who's going back to school, doctoral, BSc and MSc, and have a place that you can go and actually get some work done.
Yeah.
You can't, come on now. We can't say we're sitting on the couch and our favorite show is on Netflix right now. And it's we're just not doing it. So step out of your normal spot and go somewhere that you can really get the work done and you can be productive, right? So remove yourself from distractions. If you got a TV on, cut the TV off, turn your phone on silent. If you like me, I have to play some little music, white noise or something. Do what you have to do. You're going to find much more success in that than staying in your regular area. So as a student, I've gone to the library. I'm out of my element. I can't get up. I can't go in the kitchen, get a snack. I just got to work. So that would be one of my takeaways.
What practices have you continued or adopted to support your physical, psychological, and spiritual health?
I think for me, when you say adapted at this level, right, I've done the dean. I've been a career student for forever. So I don't know that anything has changed at this doctoral level, but overall to just support me mentally, physically, and my spiritual, it's just being open and honest about how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Open and honest about what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. Recently I've started to have some issues with anxiety. I've never had that. And then all of a sudden I have some issues with anxiety. And I understand what it is now to have anxiety attacks.
Yeah.
And for me, it's about recognizing that, hey, I'm getting overwhelmed and stepping away from the situation. I think I used to, and as a Black male, at least for me, we're taught to not show emotion. We're taught to barrel through issues, and we can't cry. Well, that's out the window. I will step back and talk through my feelings with my wife, or whoever I trust to talk through my feelings with. And that has really lessened my anxiety. So that's something I learned over time. And like I said, when you're dealing, you're working, you have a family, you're teaching, you're a student, there's a lot on you. So for me, when we talk about mental health and clarity and spiritualness, it's about having that resource person who you can voice your concerns to, and not thinking you have to process everything yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. As I shared in our previous episodes, my own experiences with anxiety as of late, right? And how me and my mom start using the feelings chart. So I'll put the link to that in the
Love that.
Yeah. Super helpful. Because it gives the language.
Right.
Definitely share it with me. I think I'll take a look at it, because sometimes you don't have the words, but something's wrong, but you don't know how to say what's wrong. And for me, I try not to, but sometimes it's just an outward attack, and it's like, it's not on anyone. It's just, I don't know how to process everything I got going on. So my body kind of just say, okay, stop, rewire, and it just kind of shuts down. And I know when that's happening, I'm not helping anybody. I'm not good to anybody. So I need to do what I need to do before I get to that point.
Totally agree. To shift gears just a little bit, in this day and age, we always have to ask the question about the money. So, what financial lessons or challenges have you discovered so far in the DNP journey?
So I am one of the ones that I don't have to go to prestigious school. I'm not one of the ones that got to be like, I got to be at Princeton, Yale, Harvard. No, I'm trying to get in and get out. So for me, when I was looking for a program, I was looking for a program that was economical and offered flexible payment options. So what I did was I went back to where I got my master's, and it was strategic. And my school offers payment options of $375 a month for 70 months. And you're allowed to do your DNP as long as you pay them that $375. You can keep progressing forward. So for me, I had to stop getting Starbucks every day to pay for that $375. But strategically, when I'm done in 70 months, I will have a free and clear DNP with no debt. So my DNP was $25,000. And I look at that and say, look, if I can pay $700-800 a month for a car, I can pay that to advance my career, which is going to pay off. A car is a depreciating asset. This is going to appreciate over time. So for me, when we talk about strategically, I had to stop getting Starbucks daily so I could afford to pay for this. But once again, this ROI, or this return on investment, will pay off much more than that Starbucks drink would. That was just instant gratification.
Right.
Man, just sharing that, automatically your school should give you tuition reimbursement.
Right.
You just
my
increase
God.
Just gave a plug.
by 100%.
Wow, that just
I wish we had talked a couple years ago.
right.
Yes, so for the students, right, as I always tell people, because and I've said at the C-suite level, right? I've said at the C-suite level, I've said at just about every level. And oftentimes, and it's maybe just my experiences, but nobody's ever asked where I got my degree from. Let me see some transcripts. Hey, they do it at the university level because I teach, right? They want to make sure you're an actual teacher, but or have graduated. But even at the C-suite level, they didn't request transcripts or anything. They was like, "Oh, it's on your resume. It must be valid." So for me, it's about finding a school that's going to challenge me, but also not break my budget, right? Because at the end of the day, it's about obtaining that slip. And obtaining the slip or the degree is just one fold, right? Because a degree is as good as the day that it's printed. The next day it's already old, right? So you need to get the knowledge from the degree, but also continue to advance yourself. That's where that real payback is going to come. It's going to be that continuous education and advancement of yourself personally.
All right, so what's your next 8 weeks look like?
So I have 2 weeks off coming up because I'll be at a conference, and then after that, I am in a healthcare technologies and informatics course, which I'm very excited about because my master's is in informatics. So I think that this is going to be something that's going to continue to push me and provide additional education to me.
Is this an elective or this is like a core?
No, this is so their courses are predetermined. It's 11 predetermined courses. That's just the name of it, is the informatics course. So, I'm excited because it's not research in the title.
And you will continue your R word in falls and while you're doing this, or it's incorporated?
Yeah, so there's always, right? So, I'm still, as the courses are going through, I'm still doing my dissertation on the side. So the way that this program is realigned, or they just realigned the program, is as I'm going through 11 courses, you're also doing your manuscript at the same time. So there's always some research that's going on. I start on my chapter 3 shortly after, and that's, I believe, the methods portion. So I'm starting on my chapter 3. So there's always going to be some level of research. But for this course here, I'm hoping that it's just papers and PowerPoints and moving on. Once again, it's something about using the word research that really just gets me. It's something in my head because, once again, the whole course, the whole program is research. Every week you're reading, they're giving you a topic. They're telling you to peruse journals, find sources that back up what you're saying, and then present that in a scholarly way, right? They're always telling you to do that. So the whole program is research, and I do acknowledge that and know that. And for anybody out there that's listening that think, they can't do it, let me tell you, I graduated with a 1. So you can do anything that you want to do, as long you can have a 1 and still make it and be soon called doctor or whatever title you're going to use. So don't let me saying research is not my favorite. You should actually use that and be like, "Whoa, Demetrius can do it. I can do it."
And I think that is a great way to close out this episode. Thank you, Demetrius. We look so forward to having you back in another 8 weeks. Me and you will continue to talk offline.
Yes.
And we'll continue to keep you in our thoughts and in our prayers, you and your entire family. And we want to shout out your wife and your daughter for supporting you, because we know behind every good man is a team of people who lift you up and support you, and that you wouldn't have made this far without them. And again, shout out to your brother. We're happy for your whole family.
Yes. I appreciate this opportunity to be on your platform. I appreciate the platform that you have and what you're doing and how you're inspiring and motivating people. And I believe just listening to you guys and just watching how you guys move, you're inspiring so many people that you don't even know expiring, right? So many people watch my podcast and they don't hit the like button, they don't hit the share button, but they'll DM me and say, "Hey, what you said was inspirational." I'm like, why couldn't you put that in the comments? Because I need that. But you know what? For me, I'm not doing it for the clout, right? I'm doing it because it's just something that I love to do, and it's evident that you guys love doing what you're doing. So continue to do the great work, and I'm excited to see where you guys go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. So as we close out, just wanted to remind everyone that you can email us your questions or show ideas at tmi.melanin@gmail.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Please share the show with your friends, your family members, and rate the Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and leave a comment. It really helps us get the show more support and gets the message out there to those that need to hear it. You can find our social media links and a list of resources related to our conversation today in the description box. We release a new show weekly on TMI Tuesdays at 10 a.m. on YouTube and on all of your favorite podcast apps. Follow, like, and share our content with all your friends and family. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.